Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. I don't know if you can hear me or if you're even there. Come and join us here about Disney. Something care. How's everybody doing? So tonight we're going to be going through and doing a recap of this past weekend's Disney Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend 2025. We also have a little poll going on in the chat room right now asking, have you, that's right, have you ever done a Run Disney races out there as well? But tonight what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to do a recap of the races. We're going to talk a little bit about the perfect status, show you the perfect gift, show you pictures, show you the medals, show you the bibs, show you everything. We're going to talk a lot about a lot of stuff. So if you want to join us, join us. If you don't, well, I hope you make better life choices in the future. So, and right now we got no one answering our poll question either. We got some people who are popping on right now. Oh, there we go. We are now currently at 2 votes of 100%. You have done a Run Disney race in the past. How's everyone doing out there in the chat room? People who are now joining on. Some people have, some people have not. We are 67% and 33% for who has and has not done the Run Disney Half Marathon. But yeah, we're going to go through and we're going to talk all about Run Disney, and we're going to talk about this weekend because this weekend was amazing. I am really, really bummed that it's over. It's one of those things we'll go through and we'll talk about it. But anytime that we get over a Run Disney weekend, it's heartbreaking to me because I absolutely love it. Hello, Frank Fam. Hello, Fjords and Beaches, aka Lisa. Lisa was one of the people we're going to talk about. Lisa actually did her first 5K and her first Run Disney 5K and first Run Disney 10K this weekend as well. So she joined me out there on the course, although we didn't run together, but we did see characters before and after the races together. All right, so let's get this party started. We are going to start I don't even know which episode we are. What episode are we on? It doesn't pop up on my side at all here, but if we go down here to my little control panel, then we can figure out exactly which episode it is. We're going to start maybe it's not. What episode are we on? 800 and something. 865th? Is it 865th? I have no idea. The 845th episode of the Wednesday show. Let's get this thing started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 845th episode of the Wednesday show. Today is October 29th, 2025, and I'm your host, as always, Brent Dodge. Hello. Today we're going to be going through and doing a recap of this past weekend's Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend. We'll talk about the expo, about the races, show you characters that were out on the course, and all that other fun stuff. But of course, before we get to that, let's talk about our news for the week. First off, thank you everyone out there who's been joining us for our Saturday in the Park. If you didn't already know, every single Saturday we do a live broadcast from someplace found throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. You never know where we're going to be coming to you from, but I promise you we will always be coming to you live from Disney. So make sure you join us every single Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. However, this week we will still have the Saturday in the Park. Next week, be prepared for a very special edition of the Saturday in the Park, and it might be at a different time. I do not know exactly what time we will have these special events going on, but we will be having a very special Saturday in the Park, not this weekend, but next weekend. This weekend, it will still be at our usual 1 o'clock, and next Wednesday, I will go through into more detail about exactly what our special event's going to be. Just stick with us, and you'll find out very, very, very soon. And also, speaking of that, let's take a look at our current subscriber count here. As always, if we get more subscribers as we go through, we will go into extra earnings. We are currently sitting at 8,991 subscribers, which is killing me because we hit this on Saturday. And over the last week, we've gone up like 30 or 40 subscribers, and all of a sudden it just stayed plateaued at 8,991. So send 9 people over because we are so close to 9,000 subscribers. It's slowly killing me inside that we have not hit that 9,000 mark yet, because I thought we were going to hit it by Sunday, but Now it's Wednesday, and we still haven't hit it. So send a friend or two or 9 over. That's all we need, 9. And then we can celebrate here on the show tonight if we hit 9,000. All right. And thank you everyone out there for joining us. Tonight's episode is, of course, sponsored by our wonderful Patreon pals. If you're one of our Patreon pals out there in the chat room, give us an ooh yeah. Okay. So this past weekend was the Wine and Dine Half Marathon weekend. Now, the Wine and Dine Half Marathon weekend is one of those weekends that I have slowly come to love more and more as each year goes on. Let's talk a little bit about my history with the Wine and Dine Half Marathon and a little bit about the history of the actual race. So the Wine and Dine Half Marathon, originally it was the Race for the Taste, and that happened years ago. They got rid of the Race for the Taste, and then they brought in the Wine and Dine Half Marathon, and then about a year later, they brought in the 5K with it, which at that point was Mickey's Jingle Jungle 5K. And then 10 years ago, they decided to add in a 10K as well and create a challenge called the 2-Course Challenge. Now, starting in 2014, yes, in 2014, I did my very first ever Wine and Dine Half Marathon, and then in 2015, I did my next one. And then they came up with the 2-Course Challenge, and I have been hooked ever since. And so because I've been going every single year since the inaugural 2-Course Challenge, I actually do have a perfect status. There's currently 291 of us that have been around since the first year and have completed every single year. At least there was 291 at the start of the weekend. There might have been someone who, I don't know, there might have been someone who did not finish, and now there might be 290 of us or 289, depending on what it is. But anyways, so the perfect status for Run Disney is you have to do the specific race or the specific challenge every single year since it's inaugural year. So for me, I have done that one since the first year. And because of that, this was the 10-year anniversary, and they do give you a special gift on the 5-year anniversary marks. And let's take a look at that right now. It is the Wine and Dine Half Marathon weekend, so it just makes sense that it is a wine bottle chiller. Ooh, and if you know me, I don't drink at all. So this is not the greatest gift for me, but at the same time, one of my friends said, hey, you could put ice cream in there and use it as a chiller for ice cream. And I think that is a genius idea. In addition to that, they also gave us a little 19.3 wine bottle cork. On the other side, it does say perfect. Again, perfect status, meaning I've done it every single year since the very first year. So if you do these races, there's people who have been perfect for the marathon. I think there's only like 12 of them left, but they've been doing the marathon, the Walt Disney World Marathon, literally every single year. They've not missed a year since 1994, which is insane to me that those people have not missed it since 1994. But if you miss 1 year, so like let's say next year, I say, you know what, I don't want to do the Wine and Dine 2-Course Challenge. I just want to do the Wine and Dine Half Marathon. And then I'll come back the next year. I am out. I no longer have that perfect status. You can't skip a year. You have to do it every single year. So right now we are perfect. I was telling Frank, who is also perfect with me, I was telling him before the race about how in 40 years I'll be 81 and they'll be interviewing me saying, wow, you're perfect for all 50 years. You know, when did you start? Be like, oh, you know, the first 13 years I was with my friend Frank, and then he died on the 13th year. Frank's like, you think I'm going to die in 3 years? And it became a long running joke throughout the entire weekend. So, but yeah, if Frank dies, it's not under my thing in 3 years. That I just called the unbelievable little thing. Okay, now enough of death. So on last Thursday was the Wine and Dine Expo. During the thing, I did purchase this hat right here, where it does say 2025 Disney Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend. The other thing I do like about it is on the inside, it does have all of the different things for the weekend. So Mushu is going to be the 5K, 10K was Olaf, Lady and the Tramp were the half marathon, and then the 3 fairies from Sleeping Beauty, they were for the 2-Course Challenge. So that was the only merchandise that I purchased for the weekend. I figured I only have like 200 hats and I needed 201, so I figured I might as well purchase another one. In addition to that, we did get our shirts. This is going to be the 10K shirt. I have the rest of them in the wash, so I do apologize that we do not have those out. And we also got our bibs. So for the 5K, like I said, it was Mulan/Mushu themed, and we've got Mulan and Mushu on there. Top is going to be our Corral, so we are Corral A for the 5K. And because it is the Wine and Dine Half Marathon, each one of the characters had a theme going through it for the whole weekend to play the role of eating them, eating throughout the day. So the 5K was eggs and bacon, aka breakfast food. The 10K, found here, was lunch. We got a nice little picnic here. Dinner was the half marathon. That's not on the bib because if you do the challenge, you only get the challenge one. So that was Lady and the Tramp, and then finally eating the spaghetti, obviously. And then finally, dessert was our 2-course challenge, and we've got the birthday cake that the 3 fairies were creating there. So this is going to be our bib for the half marathon. Another really cool thing that they do for the people who are perfect is everyone's challenge bib is typically pink up here. I mean, it depends on the race weekend and stuff, but it's typically pink. And then ours is purple, and then we do have little perfect status up there as well. Anyway, so let's get to the races. We're going to share some pictures so you can all see Frank's beautiful, beautiful face, because I do see that he is in the chat room right now as well. Okay, so starting this off, you know what we should do here? Let's do what we've done before, and maybe I should have planned this beforehand, but you know what? I didn't think about this beforehand. No, we want to go to the actual map. Let me go on the map. Oh, that's letting me go on the map. Okay, let's go through here, and we're going to share the 5K map. I'm going to go. There we go. We're on Epcot. There's got to be an easier way to do this. Okay, so this time around, we did start off, well, not this time around, but every single time, we do start off in the Epcot parking lot. This time around, we did start right about here, and we made our way to the right. We ran around the entire parking lot until eventually we got to the backstage area over here by Walt Disney Imagineering. Ooh, this is a terrible way to do this. That's not the Avenue of the Stars. Is that the Avenue? Oh, that is the Avenue of the Stars. So I thought we were in a different road. You know what? This map is not very good. Let's get away from this map because I do not like this map at all. Okay, let's just talk about it. So we started there. We ran into Epcot over by Test Track. We took a right, went past Mission Space, took a left, and went over by the Connections gift shop, or Connections and Creations gift shop / food there. And then we continued making our way around into World Showcase. We went all around World Showcase, and then after we got through World Showcase, we made our way back to the front of the park over by Figment / the Seas / everything else. And then we ran around Spaceship Earth until eventually we exited out over by the entrance to the park and made our way to our finish line. So along the way, we met several different characters. So let's get to those characters here. Now, since this is going to be all around the food and wine theme, if you have joined us before when we've talked about these race weekends, then you probably remember that when we've talked about them, I have kind of gone through and talked about the fact that my goal, and if you've ever watched my videos too, my goal is to have it so we go through and meet every single character that's on the course. So what I typically do is during the expo, and those are the only 2 pictures that I did not upload to my computer here. But what I usually do is I have it so during the expo, there's usually 1 or 2 characters they can meet. This time around, it was Olaf and Mushu. So I made sure to meet those 2 because that way, if I met them at that point, I don't have to meet them along the course. And it makes it so we can skip a few characters along the course and kind of have it so things go a little bit more smoothly. But during our 10K, we started off with Kristoff. Now, like I said, this was a Mushu themed race / Mulan themed race. So I know you're thinking, why on earth do you have Frozen characters here? Well, because it's part of the weekend. So Kristoff would be out all 3 days as well. But we do have Kristoff here. He was found just before the 1 mile mark, right when we were getting into the backstage area of Epcot. After we had him there, oh, wait, no, I've gone the wrong way. That's a different video. That was from our video a few weeks ago. Ignore that. Over here, this is going to be Connections, is the building behind us, but we do have Chef Goofy out now. Chef Goofy would make appearances in all of the races as well, because Chef Mickey, or you got Chef Goofy, is just awesome. Again, keeping with the theme of wine and dine, we would have several different those characters out. Now, this was the 5K, and like I said multiple times already, it was Mulan / Mushu themed. So we do have Mulan here along with Shang here as well. Now, because we were in the 5K, things did go extremely smoothly for us this time around. Typically, we've had people ask us in the past about this, but typically we are running between about an 8 to 9 minute mile between the characters, because my main goal is to meet all the characters. So when we got to this line, there was like 3 people ahead of us in line, and then Frank, who's in the chat room right here, Frank, he's just a lot slower. So because he's a lot slower, when we got to our next character, he was not around. Now, to be fair, when I got to Duffy, there was absolutely no people in line for Duffy. And Frank and I, when we got to Germany, we both stopped to use the restroom. Yes, we do use the restrooms while on the course. I had a few people who did ask me this last time around. So let's talk a little bit about this, because I actually think this is important in case you have never done a race weekend before, is when you're on these courses, you have to go to the bathroom. It's just human nature. Plus, when you're sitting there at the start line waiting for the corrals to start, you're just sitting there for sometimes over an hour, sometimes 2 hours. And if you are smart, you are trying to hydrate while you're sitting there waiting too. So during the 5K, I stopped to use the bathroom. Frank stopped to use the bathroom too in Germany. But if you've never done one of these races, the smartest way to do it is you want to hold off until you actually get into the parks. There are going to be porta potties along the course too. But if you know the parks well enough, you do know the best places to use the bathroom. So for the 5K, a lot of people were going into the bathroom at the Norway Pavilion. That's a big mistake, because most people see it as the first bathroom, which it is the first bathroom. But if you want to, or if you can hold off to the second or the third restroom, and that is going to make your life a whole lot easier, because then you won't have to wait. Anyways, by the time we got to Duffy, essentially, there was absolutely 0 people in line. I was literally the only person there to meet Duffy. I got out of line and I started walking, but I was looking behind me to see if Frank was showing up. And I guess I had put a little more distance between Frank and I than I realized. And so because of that, Frank he wasn't with us or with me at that point. So I said, okay, I'm just going to keep on running to the next character. And hopefully the next character would have a little bit of a line, allowing Frank to catch up as well. Our next characters were going to be Chip and Dale. Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers. Chip and Dale were going to be found right underneath Spaceship Earth. And again, they had like 3 or 4 people in line. So I lost Frank and I never saw him again. Rest in peace. So I saw him again, people. After the race, you do have it. So there's the post-race area. And when you get to the post-race area, we do have a few different characters. Actually, this is one of the funniest moments of the entire weekend. So because I did finish fairly quickly and Frank was not there yet, I did stop in line to meet Pluto. I met Pluto right away after meeting Pluto. Then Frank showed up. Frank and I met Daisy, and then we met Donald. And then Frank said, I'd never met Pluto. So then we went back in line for Pluto. Frank and I got a picture with Pluto. And then when that finished, then Lisa, right here, Lisa came and she said, hey, I just finished the race. She goes, can we meet Donald and Daisy? So then we met Daisy again, and we also met Donald again. So I did meet all the characters in the post-race area twice, with the exception of Mushu, who was the other character. And if you guys remember earlier, I was talking about how I always try to meet the characters at the expo, because if they're on the course later on, that gives me the opportunity to skip them. And Mushu and Olaf are the 2 characters that we can find there. So with all that being said and done, let's get to our 5K medal. So our 5K medal, I thought I didn't bring it out for a second. Oh, it fell. This is going to be our 5K medal there. We do have Mulan, Mushu, and a special appearance by Cricky, which I love. But there we have all 3 of those characters with the 5K medal there. Overall, really, really like this one. On the back, we did notice that there's this little diamond here, which we usually don't have on any of our old medals. So I think that's kind of cool. So yeah. All right, so let's move on to our next race, which is going to be the 10K. Oh wait, so the 10K race started off again in the Epcot parking lot. This time around, it did move a little bit differently than what it has done in the past. And you know what we're going to do is we're going to pull up the My Disney experience to help sell this because I didn't like how the other one kind of showed everything. So with the My Disney experience, it's showing you exactly where my house is right now. Good thing we weren't showing that. I live right on the edge of the My Disney Experience app, so sometimes when I pull it up, it does show exactly like my house. All right. So this time around, what we did was we started here in the parking lot. We went up and around this way, and then we continued going around. Going around this long road here until eventually we came backstage over here of Epcot. In the past, what we've typically done is we've usually taken a left and then continue going straight through the Auto Plaza area, aka where you pay for your parking. But recently, they added in 6 speed bumps. I'm not exaggerating at all. 6 speed bumps across the entire lane. And I'm pretty sure because they added those speed bumps in, Run Disney said, we can't have people running over that many speed bumps because someone's going to trip and get hurt. So I'm sure that they changed the entire course based off of that single thing by itself. So this time around, we ran out and we ran around. We entered into Epcot again over by Test Track. We went past Mission Space. We took a left between Connections and Creations. Then we took a left to go up towards World Showcase. We ran all the way around World Showcase until we eventually got up towards the International Gateway. We exited the park over there. We entered into the boardwalk. We took a left, went past all of the boardwalk, past the Atlantic City Dance Hall, made our way around over to the Yacht Club, then the Beach Club, and then back over by the Skyliner. We took a left, went backstage, entered over by the UK Pavilion, took another left, went past Canada, and then yet again we entered, or no, this was a little bit differently, because then we exited the park once again over by Figment. We ran around Soarin', around the Land Pavilion, around the Seas Pavilion, and then we entered again over by Journey of Water, inspired by Moana. We took a left over by Communicore, and then we took another left over by Spaceship Earth. We ran around Spaceship Earth, and then we eventually exited out of the park and made our way to the finish line. Now, things were a little bit more chaotic there, like we did point out earlier. We were in Corral D this time around. Now, when you are in Corral A in one race and then you go to Corral D in the next race, it makes a world of difference. And I don't think people fully understand that until they actually do one of these races. So if you are in A and you're running the entire time, things are great. You're not running and weaving between people. When you're at B, you have a few people who are walking, but most of the people are still running. When you're in C, you start to get a lot of walkers and you're starting to weave around them, because a lot of those walkers, what they'll do is they'll go to the start of the corral at the very start of the race and have it so immediately they start walking because they want to have it so they have as much time as possible to finish. I don't blame them, but at the same time, when you're trying to run the entire race, it's a little bit more chaotic. In addition to that, when you go through and start to try to meet every single character along the course, the lines are a little bit longer when you're in Corral D opposed to Corral A, because when you're in Corral A, the lines are moving extremely quickly because most likely not everyone in Corral A is stopping for all the characters like Frank and I do. Instead, they are running past many of the characters, and that allows it to have it so, for instance, with Duffy, where you have no one in line, you're just running up and you're seeing the character, and then you're on your way, and you're just staying ahead of the big crowd that's behind you. By the time you get to D, and you get to the first character, there's a long line of that character. And because there's a long line of that character, all the people who are behind you are now passing you. And when you get to the next character, some of those people who were behind you are now in line for the next character, making that line a little bit longer, and then a little bit longer, and then a little bit longer, and a little bit longer, until about halfway through the race when more people are willing to finish. I only bring this up because it's going to play a huge role when we talk a little bit about one of the character meet and greets. So let's start us off and continue by talking about our next characters. All right, so our first character was about a 10-minute wait, maybe not that long, but probably like at least 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. I don't know why I said 10 minutes, and then I went down 2 minutes. This is going to be the Duke of Wesselton, aka the Duke of Weaselton, aka the Duke. Uh, not John Wayne, but the Duke from Frozen. Like the little guy who does the weird dance and he's trying to take over the kingdom, and etc., etc., etc. I've never seen him out as a meet and greet character. The only reason I knew he existed as a meet and greet character was because during the 5K, when we went back here, let's go back in time. When we went over and we met Kristoff, later on we found out that Kristoff and the Duke were going back and forth between characters that you could meet, and I was bummed, and I said maybe he'll be out during the Frozen 10K, and luckily he was. So we had him there as our first character, but like I said, he was a pretty long wait, so it did push the next lines a little bit further back. Our next one was going to be Star-Lord and Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy. These characters had, again, a pretty long line. Not a terribly long line, but it was a pretty long line that we had to wait in, and it slowed us down a little bit more. Then we got to Anna and Elsa. This was going to be our first test of patience. Again, actually, speaking of using the bathroom, this is a great reason why you should run with someone, because while we were in this line, one of us would hold the line and the other one would go to the bathroom. It's right around the corner. And then when that person came out of the bathroom, then the other person would hold the line, so the other person would go to the bathroom. This is not a big deal if you are willing to take a group picture together. And if you are with a group and one of you gets ahead and then you take a group picture, no foul. But if you are a group and one person gets ahead and then holds everyone else a spot in line, and then you start taking individual pictures while you just skipped all these other people, that's no good. Don't do that if you're ever doing one of these Run Disney races. If you are holding a spot in line, for instance, I got into this line a little bit before Frank got there, and because of that, Frank and I, by law, should always take a picture together. But if he came and then there was a few people that were behind us, and then I came, then we can't take individual pictures because that's just rude to everyone behind us. But anyways, that's Anna and Elsa. That's a long run of thing. This is going to be over by their meet and greet area in the Norway Pavilion. It went past the bathrooms and then past the Stave Church. So it was a very, very, very long line that we had to wait in. Getting to our next character, this one was not as long, but this is going to be Pinocchio. We did find out later on that Pinocchio was also switching out with Geppetto. So we did not meet Geppetto, but we did meet Pinocchio out on the course. Up in the France Pavilion, actually, when I say France Pavilion, I should say almost the Morocco Pavilion, because that's how long this line was. We had Remy, again, making our lines a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. When we got over to Stitch, Stitch was over on the boardwalk. One thing that I do love about this meet and greet is if you look behind Frank here, if you look behind Frank, you can see the castle in sandcastle form, which I think is pretty cool. Stitch line was not too bad. But after we finished Stitch, we did go past Goofy, Chef Goofy, so we did not have to meet him again. And when we got back into the park, we had Prince Philip. Prince Philip was switching out with the 3 good fairies. And the next day, during the pre- and post-race area, they did have Prince Philip and the 3 good fairies there as well. And they were swapping back and forth. Before the race for the half marathon, we tried to get in line. They said, hey, just let you know, you're not going to be meeting the fairies. You're going to be meeting Prince Philip instead. So we didn't get in line because we obviously had met him during the 10K. And then after the race, I went to go get in line again. And they said, hey, just let you know, you're not going to be meeting the fairies. You're going to be meeting Philip instead. And I said, what in the world is going on? And I just never got to meet the 3 fairies this weekend. So a little shameful, but at the same time, I got to meet Prince Philip. So not too bad. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the worst blurry picture in the history of blurry pictures. That right there, my friends, is Kronk. Right. Okay, so we met Prince Philip over by, and with the little, there's like a door that goes to World Show Place, that building that's between the Canada Pavilion and the UK Pavilion. That's where we met Prince Philip. We started to get word from our 2 friends who were ahead of us on the race that they were meeting Yzma and they were meeting Kronk and they were meeting Cusco on the course up ahead. And I said, that, my friends, is amazing. So we decided to kind of push it and try to meet these characters. We left Prince Philip, again, between Canada and the UK Pavilion, and we had to run, like I said, down towards the front of the park, past or backstage of Imagination, run around Soarin', Living with the Land, the Seas, and then eventually you came back in. And if you look right behind my head there, you can see the sign for Journey of Water. So this is where they had him, was over by the Moana meet and greet area. When we got to the line, it was closed off, and I kid you not, it was at least 300 people deep. Like, it was ridiculously long line. So our friends who did start in earlier corrals and who did not meet all the characters, they had the opportunity to meet Kronk and Yzma and Kuzco, and all I got was this very, very blurry selfie. But there he is, Kronk. Right. Also, if you guys want to, in the chat room right now, has he ever been out before? He has been out before. I've met him a few times during Run Disney races, but it's been a long, long time. If you guys want to play a little fun game in the chat room, Frank has never seen The Emperor's New Groove. So if you guys want to shame someone in the chat room right now, Frank's the person to shame. Okay, let's go on to our next character. Our next characters here was selfie only, but this was Bruno and Mirabel from Encanto. This line, you can see it behind us there. That's the end of the line, and it went around the little stage area until you got to the front to take your selfie. Not too bad of a line. Not the greatest line either, though. During the post-race area, oh, wait, no. That's the next day. So during the post-race area, we didn't have to meet anyone, right? No, we didn't have to meet anyone. We had Olaf there, we had Chip and Dale there, and we had... Who were the other two characters? Oh, Donald and Daisy, who we had already met too. So because of that, we didn't have to meet anyone during the post-race area. All right, so that's the 10K. This is their next day, so just ignore that for the time. All right, so let's get to our 10K medal. It's one of the medals that fell earlier. Where are you, 10K medal? Now I see you. So, all right, so this is going to be our 10K medal here. We have Olaf. I think it's really funny because it's not like in your face. This is a 10K because it's mainly 2025. But we do have the 10K at the very top there, 1 and done half marathon. The sun does move as well, which I think is pretty cool. Again, on the backside, we do have some snowflakes. Ooh. And we also have that diamond there. And again, I don't know if that diamond's been on any past medals. I just don't know if I've ever really paid attention to it. But maybe it's there, but maybe it's not. Overall, I do like this medal. It's cheerful, it's fun, it's bright, it's colorful. I like bright and colorful. So overall, good medal in my opinion. All right, that's going to bring us to our half marathon. Wait, what, Frank? You've been waiting to watch it with me. That's a lie. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the half marathon. So the half marathon course is a little bit different. So we started off the exact same way that we started with the 10K, where we started off taking a left and then immediately taking a right and going on that road that goes all around Epcot. We would eventually enter into backstage of Epcot over by Test Track, but instead of going by Test Track and Mission Space like we've done the last few days, instead we took a left and we entered over by Mexico to get back on stage. Entered into Mexico, we ran around World Showcase until eventually we made our way up to International Gateway. Nope, nay, take that back. Until we went past the UK Pavilion, and then we entered backstage on the doors that are over by the UK bathrooms. After exiting over that way, we went over by the Skyliner and made our way up to the boardwalk. We ran around the boardwalk, but not to Yacht Club and Beach Club, but instead when we got to the end of the boardwalk over by Swan and Dolphin, we took a left and we went down that narrow pathway all the way to Disney's Hollywood Studios. When we got to Disney's Hollywood Studios, we entered on Hollywood Boulevard. We ran down to Echo Lake. We went around Echo Lake, past Star Tours, into Galaxy's Edge. We ran through Galaxy's Edge, into Toy Story Land, through Toy Story Land. And then instead of taking a left like we usually do, we took a right and went through Pixar Place. At the end of Pixar Place, we were backstage over by the studio backlot tour used to be. We took a left. We went backstage until eventually we got over by the Muppets, which we had already passed going into Galaxy's Edge, but we're on the other side of the road now. And then we entered over by Sci-Fi Dine-In, and the what's the commissary, ABC commissary, and then eventually ended up taking a right back down Hollywood Boulevard until we got to Sunset Boulevard. We took a left onto Sunset Boulevard, went all the way down to Tower of Terror, took a right, went backstage over by Fantasmic, went past the Fantasmic bathrooms. Again, a good bathroom to use if you know when to use it. Then we went backstage, took a right, took a left onto the main road that's outside of Hollywood Studios there, and then ran all the way down past Coronado Springs to the Blizzard Beach parking lot. We ran around the Blizzard Beach parking lot, and then we came back the same road that we went down, and then we took a right onto World Drive, where we did a U-turn, and then went north on World Drive until eventually we got to the next exit ramp. When we get to the next exit ramp, we ran around until we got up towards Epcot once again, and then we did a little U-turn, went over the Auto Plaza area, and made our way to backstage of Epcot. When we get to the backstage of Epcot, we ran around the Seas Pavilion, the Land Pavilion, Figment, Soarin', all that other fun stuff, and we entered by the bathrooms by Figment. Again, good bathrooms to use if you have to use the bathroom during one of these half marathons. After we got onto the over by Figment, we went up towards World Showcase. We did a U-turn right away, and we went down that central bridge heading towards the front of the park. We went past Connections and Creations, and then went past Mission Space and Test Track, made our way backstage, looped around, went underneath Guardians of the Galaxy, took a right into the parking lot, and to the finish line. Whew, okay. I memorize these races like crazy. Sometimes when we're going through these recaps, I'm like, wait, am I going to remember the entire race course? And then it just always pops back up. Okay, so on this course, yet again, our goal was to meet every single character. And this time around, we were fairly successful, but we did have a few little hiccups. Let's start us off with Minnie Mouse. Now, before we talk a little bit about Minnie Mouse, let's talk a little bit about Frank. So Frank was staying at Grand Floridian this time around, and because of the road closures, I could get Frank, but it was going to be really close on me possibly having it, so I would hit road closures after picking him up. So we decided the night before that he would meet me at the parking lot and take the bus instead. But the bus that he took got lost trying to find its way to the starting line. So I was able to meet Minnie, and Frank was not there. Then I got into the Crails, and Frank was not there. I waited for Frank at the front of the Crail, and Frank was not there. Eventually, Frank showed up, and he went into his Crail of Crail B. I started off in my Crail of Crail D, and my main goal was to meet every character along the way, have Frank texting me which characters were ahead of me, and then also, hopefully, eventually catch up to Frank. Did I do it? We'll find out soon. So immediately, like this is literally like a quarter of a mile away. For those of you guys who don't know what a quarter mile is, think about one loop around the track, like a regular track. This was about how far away from the starting line Aurora was. So Aurora was the very first character we met. Then we did a little loop around. One of the spots in my video, we're going to go back just for a second here. One of the spots in my video that did not make it, it just did not record on my GoPro. It recorded 1 second of it, so I just didn't include it in the video, was on that other stretch, they had a few of the ballroom dancers from the Haunted Mansion there. That line was ridiculous, and I usually don't meet characters who don't have names. So because of that, I said, no, you know what? I'm not going to meet them. It also helps make sense if you watch my full video of the half marathon, or if you watch my run through Hollywood Studios, and I'm going past the Tower of Terror bellhops, and I say, oh, it's like the ballroom dancers. That's what I'm referring to, because I had said something on the video, but then the video just never happened the first time around. So I skipped those dancers. We made our way into the park, and on the park, immediately we had characters like Goofy. We had Olaf over in the Norway Pavilion. Over in there was another character that we skipped. There's like 3 characters right in a row that were around, and then eventually we got to France, and Emil was there, aka Remy's brother. Frank had texted me saying Remy's there. Remy was not there. It was just Emil. Remy was actually in the parking lot back at the start and end thing. So Frank skipped Emil, not realizing who it was. Next up was Bowler Hat Guy, aka Goob, aka Michael Goobian, aka that villain guy from Meet the Robinsons. But he was over by the cake bake shop on the boardwalk area. I love Meet the Robinsons. I love Goob / Bowler Hat Guy. I think he's just a great villain. Over by the Atlantic City Dance Hall, that's this building right behind me, we did have Doug from Up. Making our way to the entrance of Disney's Hollywood Studios, we had Mike Wazowski and Celia there as well. Also, just complete side note, I am excited for things like the Monsters Inc. Monstropolis area to open up, and also things like Tropical Americas and things like Villains Land and Cars area, because it gives us more chances to change up the courses for some of these races and have it so we can see characters like Mike Wazowski and Sully in their home area. I think it's going to be really cool when all those things are open. Over in Galaxy's Edge, this was easily my longest wait of the entire thing. Actually, here, I got... this is obviously The Mandalorian from the television show, The Mandalorian. Let's go to this right. So this is going to be the actual map of my Garmin, tracking exactly where we ran around at. And if it is a bright red, that means that's when I was going my fastest. And if it's bright blue or dark blue, that means that's when I'm going my slowest. And this is the line for The Mandalorian. See how dark it goes? And so it's going all the way up and down and around, and then we wiggle back and forth quite a bit until eventually we got to where he is up here. So overall, insanely long line. I'm guessing about, and I'm not even like exaggerating here, probably around 300 people in line specifically to meet the Mandalorian / Grogu, who, if you look on the part of him there, Grogu is right there. But overall, I'm very happy with meeting every single character along the course, so I cannot complain. It would be nice, and I hate to say this because I know that Frank is in the chat room right now, it would be nice to do a non-Disney race just to get a proof of time so I can get into an earlier corral and then I have a little bit more time getting as many characters as possible. But at the same time, it's so difficult to run these non-run Disney races because there's no characters. If there's no characters, what are you even running to? Just the finish line? That's ridiculous. Over in Toy Story Land, we had Woody. Bo Peep was also there, I found out, but it was going back and forth between Woody and Bo Peep, so I met Woody there. Where was Lilo at? Lilo, obviously, right here in this picture. Lilo was on the road. I'm trying to think of where Lilo was. I can't. Oh, I know where Lilo is. So she was over by Blizzard Beach. So as you exited Blizzard Beach, Lilo was right there. Obviously, we had met Stitch the day before. Again, right behind you there, you can see the tip of the castle. That is the sand castle of the castle from the start of the Disney movies. Then we had Nick Wilde from Zootopia. If you notice, it is his new outfit for Zootopia 2. So the rumors I heard were the people who did the Run Disney races were the first people to meet Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps in their Zootopia 2 outfits. And to me, I think that's pretty cool. Obviously, Judy Hopps is not there right now. The two of them were switching back and forth as well. Then we had the Queen of Hearts. I don't know why the Queen of Hearts was there. I thought it was a very random character when you looked at the rest of the characters that are out there on the course. But at the same time, I will take any older character. I think they're all great. So, yeah, the Queen of Hearts and my terrified face there because she was scary. Moving on to the next one. Like I said, did I catch up with Frank? Yes, I did. Now, I did catch up to Frank while he was in line for Sebastian, and I do want to apologize to those people who did watch my half marathon video because I edited that thing when I was extremely exhausted right after the race, trying to get it uploaded before I took a nap. And the only part that I forgot to cut out was the part where I'm running for like 40 seconds and you just see the ground running. That was because about 2 to 3 minutes before this happened, Frank called me when I was running. And he said, hey, where are you at? Sebastian's over by the palm trees. We were giving each other updates every single time we would stop for a character line on exactly where we were. And Frank said, hey, I'm over by the palm trees right now. That's where Sebastian is. And I was coming over the horizon. I could see the top of the palm trees. I said, I can see the palm trees right now. I'm almost there. He said, I'm about 15 people back in line. I said, I'm going to book it. And by the time I got there, he was letting a few people ahead. I could see him letting a few people ahead. And then we met up with each other. So we stuck together for pretty much the rest of the race, with a few little exceptions. The next character that was up was Mushu and Shang. Frank had not met Mushu at the expo, so Frank did wait to get meet Mushu, and then I kind of took my time to get to Phineas and Ferb, which was our next character there. Then we had two of the experiments from the Lilo and Stitch television series. These two were backstage behind Figment. And then when we got to Scrooge McDuck, we got there together, and I said, I need at least an individual picture with Scrooge McDuck. So I got an individual picture with Scrooge, and then we also took a group picture of both of us with Scrooge as well. But Scrooge is my favorite character, so I had to meet him. And then our final character on the race course was Bolt from the film Bolt. And then after the race, I went over and I met Mickey while Frank got some Wetzel's Pretzels. And then in the Blizzard Beach area, they had these little signs saying 2-course challenge 2025 perfect. I forgot that they did this, but during these race courses, they typically do have it so if it is a perfect weekend, aka a 5-year anniversary of the challenge or the race itself, then what they do is they have it so there is usually a sign someplace on the course to help celebrate the fact that people out there are perfect for these challenges. And so I stopped, obviously, and got the picture of the perfect sign because, like I said, Frank and I are still perfect for that one. Okay, so finishing up the half marathon, we got our half marathon medal, which has Lady and the Tramp there with the 13.1. The 2 ones are both breadsticks. The 3 is pasta. And then the point is a meatball. This one seems a little pointless because on the other side, it's just the exact same thing. But at the same time, it swivels. So kind of cool. And then in addition to that, we also got our challenge medal. And our challenge medal is my favorite medal of the entire weekend. It is 2 of the 3 fairies there with the 2-course challenge sign. And then you can actually open it up. And on the inside of it, it has the 3rd fairy with the 10-year sign on there. Now, in addition to our cool gifts of the wine chiller, they also give us a special ribbon for completing the thing. So you are handed your medal, just like everyone else is handed the medal, with your regular ribbon. And then they give you a special ribbon. And if you've joined me for the last 5 years when we've talked about these races, they give you one of these every single year as long as you're perfect for the challenge. And on your ribbon, it does have the word perfect on there. So overall, really, really cool. Now, the really cool thing about this entire weekend is in addition to the races, they also have a post-race party. So this is going to be our 2025 Disney Wine and Dine Half Marathon post-race party map. Now, we're not going to go into too many details. If you have any questions out there, start throwing those questions into the comments because this is going to cover up the smallest portion of the night. So send those questions out now. So we do have our usual party thing. We did get a special wristband, which is this right here. On it does say the Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend. It's got the little party symbol on there. But what essentially they do is you can get into the park starting at 5 o'clock. It's just like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or Mickey's Not So Scary or Very Merry Christmas Party, where it's a special party that you can get in a little early to the park, but then the official thing starts off about an hour after the usual park hours. Now, the usual park hours still ended at 9 o'clock. So the party went from 10 o'clock until 1 a.m. And you better believe I stayed out till 1 a.m. So during the party, they do have some special characters out. They have some special merchandise. They have it so all the food and wine booths are open. And they also had 6 or maybe 7 attractions that were actually open. The only one that was not listed on here on the map that was open was Spaceship Earth. We didn't realize that until it was too late. So we did not do Spaceship Earth, but we did do the other 6 attractions, which were Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Frozen Ever After, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Test Track, Soarin', and Living with the Land. And then we also went to go meet some characters, but unfortunately, then it started to rain. So all the characters had to go away. We were literally 2 people away from meeting Mary Poppins and Bert. And I was heartbroken about it because I really, really, really wanted to go meet them. But sadly, it could not happen. So the reason that this has a post-race party, let's end our poll there. I just realized the poll was still up. The reason that we have a post-race party during the Wine and Dine Half Marathon is because the Wine and Dine Half Marathon used to be a nighttime race. The race used to start at I think it was 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. I want to say it was 10 p.m. You started off at Wild World of Sports. You ran off to Disney's Animal Kingdom. You ran through Disney's Animal Kingdom in the dark. Then you ran over to Disney's Hollywood Studios. And it was the first time for the whole year, every single year, like this was the tradition. The first people who could watch the Osborne Family Spectacle Dancing Lights were the runners running for the half marathon and running through Disney's Hollywood Studios. Eventually, you would make your way over to Epcot. And when you got to Epcot, you would get to the finish line and the half marathon party was going on. So the faster you ran, the more time you had at the party. I miss those days because it was just great. I absolutely loved when they did it. They have not done it for at least 10 years now because Frank has been doing this race for at least 10 years, and Frank's never done the nighttime race of the Wine and Dine Half Marathon. But overall, it was just a great atmosphere because you got to go there. You got to really celebrate your achievement immediately. Everyone smelled terrible because they just all ran a half marathon. But overall, it was just a lot of fun. So when they decided to move everything to the morning races, when they added the 10K, they decided that, hey, you know what? We'll do the 5K in the morning on Friday because it used to be on Saturday morning was the 5K and then Saturday night was the half marathon. And then when they added in the 10K, they said, okay, we're going to spread all these out, but we're not going to have a party on Sunday night. So people who have to go to work, they can go to work. So they moved the half marathon to the morning, and then it became the 5K Friday, 10K Saturday morning, and then the half marathon Sunday morning with the party still going on Sunday night. So they still have that party going on, but yeah, they had some characters out. Let's go through the characters. It doesn't tell you exactly who, but we had Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. Ooh, Daisy Duck. Then we had friends from the Three Caballeros, aka the Three Caballeros. Friends from Frozen. We never went over there to see exactly which friends from Frozen they were. Friends from Mulan. Again, we didn't see who it was. Friends from Lilo and Stitch. I'm assuming it was Lilo and Stitch and maybe the other two experiments that we saw in the course. Duffy, the Disney bear. He had no line during the 5K, so I don't know if he had a line at all during the post-race party. Friends from Ratatouille, we met both the ones that you can possibly meet from that movie. Friends from Sleeping Beauty, I assume that the three fairies were out, but we just never again made our way over there. Friends from Alice in Wonderland, we did see Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but again, they were about to go backstage because it started raining, so we never got to meet them. Friends from Mary Poppins and Bert, and then friends from the Country Bear Jamboree. They did have Shaker and Big Al out there doing some meet and greets. They also have a DJ dance party, and the DJ dance party, you don't just have to go to the floor, you have the DJ dance party throughout the entire park. So overall, it's just a great atmosphere. It's a great way to kind of celebrate the achievement that you did of running 13.1 miles. And if you are ever thinking about doing the Wine and Dine Half Marathon sometime in the future, and you're like, well, I really want to do that post-race party, well, you get free admission to the post-race party if you do the half marathon. They send you a ticket in the mail beforehand. They also send you a $15 Disney gift card that you can use on food during the party as well. In addition to that, if you are doing the 10K or the 5K, but you want to do the post-race party, you're in luck. You can spend like $120 to do the post-race party. I don't know if it's worth the $120, but if you want to spend $120 and get a few extra hours at Epcot, it's a way to do it. All right, does anyone out there have any questions at all before we wrap this bad boy up here? All right, talk about the buses and how you need to be there really early if you take buses to race. Sometimes you get a driver like me who has never driven around Disney World yet. So let's talk a little bit about this, because if you ever do the any, not just Wine and Dine Half Marathon, if you do any of the Walt Disney World Run Disney races, what they do is it's not the usual Disney buses that are bringing you to the start and the finish line. It is going to be a coach bus from Mears Transport that they hire from an outside company, aka Mears, and they come in, and a lot of them do not know the roads at all. There has been times, not a lot of times, but there's been a few times where I have taken the buses for whatever kind of reason, and every time the people have no idea where to go, and I usually try to sit at the front so I can tell them exactly where to go, because there's road closures and also some of the roads are just kind of tough to get around. Frank is kind of the perfect person to talk about because, like he says right there, he's the person who couldn't figure out exactly where to go, or he had a bus driver that couldn't figure out exactly where to go, and it just makes things a little bit more difficult when you're trying to get through and done it. Has Frank ever been out before for Emperor's New Groove? Yeah, I think Frank's been out. I think Frank's been at least he's been to the races with me multiple times here. Oh, does anyone out there have any other questions about Run Disney or the half marathon or anything else? I gotta figure out what to do with this chiller. I'm kind of thinking this is probably going to be more of a storage thing than anything else. Or we can reenact that scene from Peter Pan when he imitates Captain Hook. Sorry, neighbors. But yeah, I think it's cool. I just don't know what to do with it. Like I said, I don't drink at all. Well, I drink water, but I don't really need a chiller for that. I think Frank Fan was going to asking about Kronk being out before. Wait. Oh, about the has he ever been out? Yeah, that was about Kronk. Yeah, so they had Kronk, Yzma, and Kuzco out. Unfortunately, we never got to meet them, and I was kind of very disappointed by it. All right, let's check our subscriber count. Have we hit our 9,000 subscribers? I highly doubt it, but we're going to cross our fingers that we got 9 subscribers. And we did not. Oh, we are so close, people. Send over your friends. We need 9 more subscribers. We're just going to keep this up here for the next 30 seconds because if that number right there grows even a little bit, we're going to kind of freak out a little bit here. If you're one of those people who's watching right now, we've got a few people who are watching that I've never seen before. But if you're one of those people who is watching right now, you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Let's get us to 8,992 right now. It is almost Halloween. It is almost Halloween. It's Halloween, everybody. 8,992 right now. Nope, sadly not. And right, yes! Okay, we're at 8,992. So keep on sending your friends. We are now 8 subscribers away from hitting 9,000. I'm tempted to just sit here and wait it out. The problem is there's a few people who I know that are usually on the show that sent me a message beforehand saying that I was not as important as the World Series of them. And I get it, but I don't at the same time. Okay, so while we are sitting here and waiting for that to go up to 8,993, which is going to do in 22 seconds, I'm guessing. That's just a guesstimation. But let's talk a little bit about not this week's Saturday in the Park, but the next week's Saturday in the Park. Our Saturday in the Park will be a little bit earlier, I'm guessing, than it usually is. But we are going to be boarding onto a Disney cruise. So we're going to have the Wednesday show in 2 weeks. We'll be aboard a Disney cruise. And we'll have some Disney cruise content coming out in the next few weeks here as well, opposed to our usual Walt Disney World content. And here comes that 8,993. 8,993. Anyone? Bueller? No. Come on. Send a friend or 2 or 8, and then we'll celebrate. I don't know if you know a friend or 2 or 8, but let's get to 8,993 right now. No, maybe we should just cut that up the entire race. We shouldn't even look at the pictures. We should just been like, hey, let's just watch this thing move up. All night long, all night. All right, does anyone out there have any other questions before we wrap up tonight's episode here? Or if this thing pops up to 8,993. I was kind of expecting that we would have Christine in the chat room tonight because she ran her first 5K this week, and I was hoping that she could be out there, and then we could be like, hey, what'd you think? But maybe she hated it so much that she blames me, because there's a lot of people out there who have done Run Disney races because they follow me, and that may have been her case. She might hate me now forever. My friend Lisa from Norway, like I said, she did her first Disney 5K and 10K this week, and she is still in town for a little bit longer. But every time we've been hanging out, she's like, "Oh my gosh, that was so much fun! It was so much fun!" And now she's addicted, which I think that's the wrong addiction to have when you live in a completely different continent. Hello to those people. We just had a few people who popped on. If you're one of those people who just hopped on, we are currently 8 subscribers away from 9,000 subscribers. So subscribe. That's all we're saying right now. But yeah, if you live in Europe and you want to get a cool addiction, Run Disney might not be the best one to get because right now I'm just stalling. I'm hoping that this hits 8,993 all here. Otherwise, we are going to be wrapping this thing up. We're going to give it till right now. We're at 1 minute and 25 seconds, or I'm sorry, 1 hour and 25 seconds into this broadcast. We're going to give it to 1 hour and 1 minute. And if it doesn't hit that, we're going to start to wrap this thing up. So now we got 25 seconds left. But yeah, she's kind of addicted to them now, and she said that she's excited to come back next year to do the Wine and Dine half marathon weekend yet again. So if you've not done a Run Disney race, if you're one of those 20% of the people during our poll at the start of this broadcast that said you haven't done it, I highly recommend checking it out. Okay, it is now 1 hour and 1 minute in, so we're going to be wrapping up this bad boy right here. But thank you everyone out there for joining us once again this week. As always, tonight's episode is sponsored by our Patreon pals. If you're one of our Patreon pals out there in the chat room right now, give us an oh yeah. Thank you everyone out there for joining us. I hope everyone out there is having a great weekend. We will see you guys next week during the Wednesday show, where we're going to be either here or someplace in the park. And then the following week, we will be, like I said, on a Disney cruise. So make sure you join us for that as well. But I hope everyone out there is having a great day. Until next time, remember that anything can happen if you let it. Until next time, have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye. Goodbye now. Bye-bye now. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye. Are they gone? Are they gone? Oh, good. My cheeks are just killing me. I can't stand this kind of pressure.